Cultural clash and family tensions. Underscore 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 underscore. Noor Almaleki was born in Iraq and moved with her family to the United States as a child. By the time she was 20 years old, she was a young woman fully integrating into Western culture. Living in Phoenix, Arizona, she pursued higher education, wore modern Western clothing, used makeup, and began dating, a lifestyle that many young Americans take for granted. However, for her father, Faleh Hassan al-Maliki, these choices were deeply offensive. He adhered to traditional Iraqi and conservative Muslim values, which emphasized strict family honor codes, obedience to parental authority, and arranged marriages, especially for daughters. Faleh viewed Noor's independence as a shameful rebellion that dishonored him in the eyes of their community. This clash between individual freedom and cultural control became the foundation of their escalating conflict. Underscore 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 underscore. Forced marriage in Iraq. At just 17 years old, Noor was forcibly taken to Iraq by her father, where he arranged a marriage for her, something Noor vehemently opposed. She didn't want to be a submissive housewife or follow a life dictated by her family's expectations. Despite the odds, Noor escaped the marriage and returned to the U.S., a decision that enraged her father even more. Her rejection of the arranged marriage was not just personal, it was, in her father's eyes, a public insult to family honor. Underscore 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 underscore. Strained relationship in Arizona. Back in Arizona, Noor refused to reconcile with her father. She moved out of the family home and began living with a family friend. She also started a relationship with a man named Marwan, another decision that pushed her further away from her father's expectations. Her refusal to return home, wear traditional clothing, or stop seeing Marwan only deepened Faleh's belief that she was shaming the family. This cultural tension, brewing for years, created a tragic backdrop for what would ultimately be classified as an honor killing. Stalking and escalation. Underscore 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 underscore. After Noor Almaleki escaped the forced marriage in Iraq and returned to Arizona, she refused to live under her father's authority. She cut off contact with her parents and moved in with a woman named Amal Khalif, a longtime family friend whom she trusted. Amal offered Noor a safe haven, a place where she could be herself, continue her studies, and live without the fear of being forced into submission. Noor also began a romantic relationship with a man named Marwan, someone her father would never approve of. For Faleh Hassan al-Maliki, this was the breaking point. In his mind, Noor's actions, living away from home, refusing the arranged marriage, dating someone of her own choice, were deeply shameful and dishonorable. These acts were, to him, not just disobedience, but an unforgivable public humiliation. Underscore 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 underscore. uninvited visits, and threats. Faleh began stalking Noor. He would drive to Amal Caliph's home uninvited, demanding to speak with Noor and insisting that she come back to the family. At times, he would wait outside, intimidating her and the people around her. The situation became so tense that Noor and Amal considered involving law enforcement, but they hesitated, possibly out of fear, or a hope that the tension would eventually ease. But it only got worse. Underscore 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 underscore. The threat. In one chilling confrontation in June 2009, Faleh told Amal and Noor that if Noor didn't return home and stop defying him, something bad would happen. Those words were remembered later during the investigation, not as vague parental anger, but as a direct threat foreshadowing the tragic events to come. Noor's fear intensified. She began looking over her shoulder, avoiding public places with her father's acquaintances, and reportedly told friends that she was afraid he might hurt her. However, she still tried to maintain a sense of normalcy, attending college, staying close to Amal, and continuing her relationship with Marwan. Faleh, on the other hand, was consumed with rage and what he saw as a duty to restore his family's honor, by any means necessary. The parking lot murder attempt. Underscore 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 underscore. On the morning of October 20th, 2009, Noor Almaleki and her close friend and guardian figure, Amal Caliph, visited the Arizona Department of Economic Security, DES, office in Peoria, Arizona. This was supposed to be a normal errand, a visit for Amal's state-related paperwork. But for Noor, it would turn out to be the last time she ever walked freely. Unbeknownst to them, Faleh Hassan Almaleki, Noor's father, had been following them. He knew of their routines. He had been growing more obsessed and enraged as Noor continued to defy his authority and refuse to return home. That day, he made the decision to take what he later described as justice into his own hands. Underscore 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 underscore. The attack. As Noor and Amal exited the DES office and walked through the parking lot, Faleh was already there, lying in wait in his 2000 Jeep Grand Cherokee. He started the engine, drove across the lot at high speed, and deliberately aimed the SUV at the two women. He struck Amal Caliph first, launching her onto the sidewalk. She was severely injured, suffering multiple fractures, but survived. Then, Faleh swerved the Jeep to intentionally target Noor. He ran her over with full force, dragging her body approximately 20 feet under the vehicle before speeding away from the scene. Underscore 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 underscore. Witnesses and emergency response. There were multiple eyewitnesses in the parking lot. Some described the act as shocking and clearly intentional, not an accident. They saw the Jeep speed up, veer, and strike the women in a targeted manner. Emergency responders arrived quickly. Amal was conscious and in immense pain. Noor, however, was critically injured. She was unconscious and barely breathing. Paramedics rushed her to the hospital, where she was placed in a medically induced coma. She had suffered life-threatening internal injuries, brain trauma, and broken bones. At the time, Police immediately identified Noor Almaleki as the suspect. A nationwide manhunt began within hours. Flight, arrest, and death. Underscore 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 underscore. After the brutal attack in the DES office parking lot on October 20th, 2009, Noor Almaleki did not stay behind to face the consequences. As his daughter lay critically injured and Amal Khalif suffered serious trauma, Noor fled the scene immediately, beginning an international attempt to escape justice. Underscore 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 underscore. Escape to Mexico and beyond. Authorities launched a manhunt as soon as witnesses identified Noor and surveillance footage confirmed his identity and the vehicle involved. But he had already crossed the border into Mexico by car. From Mexico, Noor booked a flight to the United Kingdom, possibly believing that he could find refuge there or even continue on to the Middle East. However, due to close international cooperation and alerts issued by Interpol and U.S. authorities, British officials flagged his arrival. Underscore 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 underscore. Arrest in London. On October 31st, 2009, just 11 days after the attack, Noor Almaleki was detained at Heathrow Airport in London. He had arrived on a flight from Mexico City and was immediately arrested by UK border agency officers acting on the US extradition request. He was held in a UK jail while extradition paperwork was processed. Eventually, Noor was returned to the United States to stand trial for his crimes. Underscore 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 underscore. Noor's final days. Meanwhile, Noor was in a coma at a Phoenix area hospital. She had undergone emergency surgery, and while her injuries were severe, doctors were initially hopeful. But complications set in. Despite being young and healthy, Noor developed a urinary tract infection, which led to sepsis, a dangerous and fast-spreading infection of the bloodstream. Her body was unable to fight it off due to the extensive trauma and her weakened state. On November 2nd, 2009, just 2 weeks after the attack, Noor Almaleki died from her injuries. Her death transformed the case from attempted murder to homicide. Underscore 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 underscore. Public shock and outrage. News of Noor's death and her father's arrest made national headlines. The media and the public were horrified by the notion that a father could murder his daughter in the name of family honor. The case exposed a dark, often hidden reality that honor-based violence was not limited to overseas cultures. It could happen in suburban America. Trial, conviction, and legacy. Underscore 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 Underscore, 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 underscore. After his arrest and extradition from the United Kingdom, Faileh Hassan Almaleki was brought back to Maricopa County, Arizona, where he was held in custody while awaiting trial. The case attracted widespread media attention, not just for the brutality of the crime, but because it raised disturbing questions about honor-based violence in the United States. Underscore, 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 underscore. The trial, a cultural battle in court. In January 2011, Faileh Almaleki finally stood trial. Prosecutors charged him with second-degree murder for the death of Noor, aggravated assault for injuring Amal Khalif, and leaving the scene of a serious accident hit and run. From the outset, the trial was more than just about legal guilt. It was a clash of values, cultures, and interpretations of justice. The defense team claimed that the incident was a tragic accident, not intentional. They argued Faileh had lost control of his vehicle and did not mean to strike the women. They attempted to downplay the premeditated nature of the act. The prosecution, led by the Maricopa County Attorney's Office and supported by Detective Chris Bowie, a nationally recognized expert on honor violence, argued the opposite. They claimed Faileh had carefully planned the attack, acting out of a rigid belief system where a daughter's defiance was punishable by death. The prosecution presented evidence that Faileh had repeatedly stalked Noor, made threats beforehand something bad will happen, swerved intentionally to strike Noor after hitting Amal, and attempted to flee the country immediately after. They portrayed the killing as a textbook case of an honor killing, where Noor was targeted for living a life inconsistent with her father's conservative values. Underscore, 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 underscore. The verdict. In the end, the jury rejected the defense's claim that it was an accident, but did not find enough evidence for first-degree, premeditated murder. Instead, Faileh Almaleki was convicted of second-degree murder, aggravated assault, and 2 counts of leaving the scene of a serious accident. He was sentenced to a total of 34.5 years in prison. Underscore, 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 underscore. Legacy, a landmark case. This case became one of the first honor-killing prosecutions in U.S. legal history. While honor-based violence is well documented in other parts of the world, Noor's case forced the American legal system and society to confront the reality that such crimes can and do happen in the West. The trial raised awareness about the warning signs of honor-based abuse, the need for cultural sensitivity when protecting vulnerable individuals, and how immigrant families may struggle with generational and ideological clashes in a new country. Underscore, 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 underscore. Today, Noor Almaleki is remembered not just as a victim, but as a symbol of resistance, a young woman who sought freedom in a society that promised it, only to be betrayed by those closest to her.